please free to ask questions in Russian or Estonian. I will translate in case needed, or in English if it's preferable. We have very interesting guests today. You've seen Evaldas. He is the representative of a neo-finance platform. This is Tынis-Dennis. He is also an investment club owner, basically, but in Estonian one. And we have also a fresh millionaire here. It's Yaak. Congratulations on your portfolio. And the topic for discussion is how to boost a portfolio to €100. So the first thing I would like to ask you is, what's your favorite asset overall?
Okay. In my case, of course, the favorable asset at the moment is consumer credits. As I represent the company, but I've used to invest in different class of assets, including stocks, bonds, and real estate as well. So, and at the moment, of the biggest part, maybe it's still of real estate investments, and the second one is investments into consumer credits through the platforms.
Okay, today's topic is that not €100, but €100,000. And my portfolio today, it's not based on my favorite class, but what's reasonable to do. It's also real estate, and the second is consumer loans. And it's about 61% is real estate and 21% is in loans. And I have different kind of asset classes from like gold and silver and money, and yeah, that's.
What's your favorite asset?
My favorite is consumer loans. Yeah, that's my favorite. There is the best return that I get today is from consumer loans, B2B and B2C.
Okay, I see. Thank you. Yeah.
I started out in stock market when I was in high school in 1999. And then I moved to real estate and then loans. And right now it's, I would say my favorite is real estate loans to the companies that I have some ownership or control. So their loans are backed by real estate, but since they are equity, like equity part of the structure, the interests are like 15+%. So for me, this is the sweet spot.
What would you recommend as the best asset for the beginner?
For the beginner, of course, it depends on the risk-reward ratio the beginner is looking for. But I would suggest maybe to start investing from P2P platforms and crowdfunding platforms because it's not so difficult to learn and understand how to do that, and everybody, for example, understands the people and people needs. For example, if to invest into consumer loans, everybody know what for money used to buy a car, to go for a vacation and similar things. So we understand the portrait of the borrower. So for me, it looks as the first investment type for the beginner. And also it helps to learn how the financial world works, including all the financial figures, like what is IRR, what does it mean, NPV, what does it mean ROI, and similar indicators of financial worlds. So after learning these things, I think the next step could be to invest, for example, into stock exchange or some bonds and similar things.
I think for the beginner, the best asset is time, actually, because you don't have like enough money to invest anyway. So if you like put 1,000 or like 10,000 to some kind of investment and try to manage it and take their like 20% of return or 10% of the return, then it's maybe not the best way to use your time. So when I started, and before this conversation, I called to other investors and asked how they got their first 100,000. So many of them said that over 80%, 85% of their investment actually came from working somewhere or from the business. So they put their time somewhere where they actually could raise the first capital, and then that's after 100,000 they can actually start to invest. But the second answer for this question is it's similar, that learn different kind of asset classes, how they work, try not to lose money, not take big risks, and it's very hard to explain which kind of asset is the best, but maybe B2B consumer loans is the lowest learning curve, so you can learn there fast. So this is probably a good way to start, and also there is a low entry point. You can start with 100 euros. It's with this kind of money you can make a better portfolio with different kind of loans. So that's my answer.
So you both recommend basically loans. Yeah, what's your opinion?
I would say if you're an employee, so you get the salary monthly, I would, as a foundation, I would invest into second pillar and third pillar index funds. So I would recommend low-cost index funds, and those are very no-brainer. Just make application and forget about it. And if you do that, then that would be a great foundation for your retirement. So with third pillar, you can retire before 55. I think for 90% of people, that's already a very good goal. But if you want to be more aggressive, then I would recommend peer-to-peer lending for the same reasons what previous speakers mentioned, that you can start small, you can get higher returns than from the stock markets, because these are not crowded markets, there are no funds. You have this advantage that you have a lot of, a small amount of money to invest, so you can get higher returns. But and then I also agree with Tынis in that sense that the biggest impact to your portfolio is actually the new money that you put in. So if you can do some extra gig or start some side business, that would probably give even bigger boost than those extra percentage points in the beginning.
Okay, you all recommend loans. How do you diversify them? Should I, as a beginner, look for different kind of platforms, or should I study 2 or 3 platforms in depth and be concentrated only on them? Or should I choose 10 platforms and just diversify all the money among them? What do you think?
In my case, I would rather learn and dig quite deep into few platforms, which I like, for example, but to investigate many things before starting, how the platform works, what is the advantages, what is the risk of the platform itself, is how money, for example, of investors are separated from that of the company, and many things to learn, and then to pick up 2 or 3 platforms as you suggest. And and not to spread into 20 platforms, because it will take quite much time for you to monitor your investments into many of the platforms. So and to invest into at least, let's say, 1,000 loans. So for example, if you want to gain portfolio up to 100,000 euros, for example, only on P2P platforms. So if to invest into 1,000 platforms, you should invest into at least 200 or 1,000. 1,000 loans. It will be
10,000 euro on neofinance, because the minimum step is 10 euros in the platform.
But what I wanted to say, that I suggest to invest maybe in minimum in 1,000 of loans, because then you actually take the economic risk of the country. Because the consumer loans actually, it's the, as I explained, it's the, at the end of the Maslow pyramid. It means that actually if the crisis damage people's abilities to get income, it's the last step for people, for your own people.
That's a good question. When I first started in consumer loans, then I took pretty big loss actually, about minus 70% loss. But fortunately, I think it's good. I have very small portfolio, so I was testing very high risk strategies. But I think it's important to see like different kind of crowdfunding platforms. There are equity-based crowdfunding platforms, and they have different character to invest. You need to dive more deeply into the companies that you want to invest, but obviously have also maybe better returns there. But you need to be, for example, Funderbeam, you have pretty good second market there. You can read all the companies and see their progress, and it's very fast, and it's actually quite liquid. So basically, you can sell small portions on the secondary markets, and also you need to dive deep in the like B2B market, and you need to understand how do you want to invest today. The only way to invest is actually with a company. So you need to have your own company, and you need to invest from there. All other ways, it's like pretty complicated, and when to start needs, I think the most important is not to lose money. So to start slowly and to find loans that have like some kind of buying back guarantee or some kind of risk management for the loan, so you not lose money if this loans goes red or black. So what does mean that loans like goes bad. So you need to start slowly and then build up gradually your portfolio to maybe some higher risk loans or equity-based crowdfunding. So it's pretty complicated, but most important, don't lose money.
I actually want to ask an additional question from you. You said that your first loss was around 70%.
Yeah.
How fast did you realize that loss?
Because there are no secondary market this time, so I couldn't realize this loss anyway. So I just took this loss and then I changed my strategy. And today I'm still under the water. My XIRR is about 7 to 8%, 7.3, right, something like this. But my yearly XIRR right now is 18%. So I think that I'm moving gradually to come out from this kind of mess that I made, but everything is possible. So.
Okay, I have actually a question about the real estate. Yaak, I want to ask you, and how, when did you come to the idea that you need to own a real estate to boost up your portfolio? Because you were rather successful at the stock exchange.
Yeah, I actually wasn't a big fan of real estate, so when I was growing up, we lived in Tallinn in a flat, and my parents had a lot of fights because the real estate was slowly wearing down and nobody wanted to repair it. So I always had nightmares of this, that you have like a leaky toilet, you know. So I never even thought about this until 2010, after the crisis. Then I had a good friend of mine, my classmate, who had invested in real estate. He had already 2 apartments, and he pitched me this idea that we should make a company together, so I could supply funds and also get in touch with some other investors, and then he would organize all the leaky toilets.
Oh, so he didn't have money himself, but he asked the money from you
Yeah.
and it is from him. Oh, that's
Yeah.
a good
So
business scheme.
I actually have always, like all my real estate companies or projects have been set up this way, that I am like a silent investor, and I get some ownership, but I don't do the dirty work, because I don't know how to do it.
guys, take notes if you want to earn some money. This is the good way to start with. And how did you realize that you need a real estate in your portfolio?
So the real estate, it's the, I think, most reasonable first investment that you can make. You can buy flat to yourself. So basically, when you buy a flat to yourself, then you don't need to pay rent. You can actually pay to yourself, and this is like kind of way you can boost your net worth with this. And then the second thing is that you can easier use loaned money to boost your real estate portfolio. So you can't boost your stock portfolio or crowdfunding portfolio, but nobody will give you for this kind of investments money. But if you're smart, you can actually pretty well boost your real estate portfolio. And I think many of investors start from using the bank loans to boost their investment portfolio. And this is the way I started.
Okay.
In my case, yes, we bought the apartment for my family, and it was in 2000, and it was two rooms flat, and then we moved to the bigger apartment, so I needed to decide what to do with the old one. So the easiest way was just to rent it out. So I rent the first apartment of my family, and I took a bank loan for the new apartment. So it started then, but I was very lucky in a time of crisis. In 2010, we had the real estate prices drop even about 50%. And I found with the partners in the old city in Vilnius, we found very good place to buy from Polish people. They went bankrupt, so we used the possibility to acquire the not apartment, but it's commercial real estate. It's now rented for restaurant. And as an example, how it can, if you buy in time, it can triple your investment amount, because at the moment this apartment, its commercial estate price is 3 times bigger than we bought, for example, in 2010. And the price of rent increased 2.5 times from 2010. So it's an amazing investment return we got, and also later we bought some other places. So now we have direct investment into real estate.
Mm-hmm. But how do you choose a good deal? How do you evaluate that this real estate is a true good deal that you want to buy and that you're going to go in?
So if Polish people goes bankrupt, we grab the opportunity. It's very easy. In crisis time. So in crisis time you need to look to go around the city and to look for possibilities, and also to check all the ads and similar things. So, but if you have money, you can be lucky then.
Yeah, but don't you have to look for location or for the purpose of the building, whatever? What are the most important
City
criteria?
center, commercial, in all town, commercial estate is the best thing to invest, as I imagine, for real estate, because in the city center you will always have the tenant, because the rent price would drop, let's say, even 2 times, but still you will have the tenants for your investment. So in crisis time it's possible to find even good opportunities into old town.
Okay, I see. Yeah, continues. What do you recommend?
I'm not a professional real estate investor, so but as Warren Buffett says, when blood on the street, then invest. But
how to choose a good deal?
when the blood on the street, you go around, you see blood on the street,
And
and then you pick this, then you pick this. But how do you choose?
If I'm offering you an apartment with a leaking toilet, For the
Not-
discount 30%, we take it.
Maybe if it's a good flip possibility, I see that it's actually, if I do some changes in the real estate and I see that I buy it like cheap and then I can flip it fast with 2 months, maybe make some changes, then probably I will take it if I have time. That's actually a good strategy to flip, maybe to find something very bad shape. You see the pictures, it's dirty, it's like stuff all around, and you see that it's actually not so reasonably priced, it's very low priced. People want to get their money, so you will jump in, you just clean it up, make a new picture, put some filter on, make it saturation high so it looks nice, and sell for a few $1,000 more, and you just flip the decent amount maybe for yourself. So that's one way maybe how you can pick, if it's like from the site, you see that it's like dirty or something.
Yeah, as you have many projects where you just rent out the whole house for the real estate, how do you pick up the location whether you're renting property? How do you understand that this city part, or this, I know you have this renting house in Eval, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it's not a city, you know, but you actually choose the smaller place to start the business there.
So I have a couple of thoughts on the same. So when it's crisis, then it really doesn't even matter where you're buying it. It's always a question of financing. So like if another 2008-9 comes, then like buy whatever you can basically. We just looked for advertising where it was said Srochna. So it was in KV Srochna, then we went to look and usually got good deals. And then I've been giving out loans for last 5-6 years for flips. And what I often see how the flips come to fruition is this, that we call them 5 Ds. So in English they're divorce, death, drugs, drinking, debt. So those 5 Ds are usually involved. So most deals I've been financing is when somebody has passed away, and like the one who gets the apartment lives in Helsinki or in Russia or like some other place. They don't really care. Like for them it's a free money because, you know, they just got the apartment as an inheritance. So then they're often willing to make a good deal. So that's what I've seen. But for your question, how do I choose location? I think for our project, mainly we try to look who would be the good renters. So in case of Elva, many of you probably don't know, but Elva has like 2 big factories. So it's actually is one of the biggest employers in Tartu Maakond. So they have Enix, which is like electronics factory, and then they have a car glass manufacturer. So there's over 1,000 workers that come from other parishes basically to work there. And also that was the initial plan, but the real renters mostly we have actually some local people and then people from Tartu, like some pensioners. They have sold their Tartu house and then they rent from us, and the rent is still cheaper, so they get a better lifestyle and they can still go. Now the bus transportation is free between Elva and Tartu, you can commute. And in Tallinn we usually try to build next to universities, so we have done one project across from the Tallinn University, the Avant-Garde building in Narva, and then Space Cube is next to Tallinna Tech, and we're building another one next to Tallinna Tech. So university locations are always good.
How difficult is basically to achieve this? No, I was rephrasing my question. Which is the biggest hurdle you ever experienced in achieving the rise of your portfolio? For example, for me, it was like, you know, when realized prices, everything was dropping down, but the cash flow was also limited. So I would like to buy many nice things, but I didn't have that much of the cash flow available. So what was your biggest hurdle?
I can answer that. So I had, my goal financially was when I was in school, I had this dream that by age of 25 I have 1 million crowns, Estonian crowns, like 50-something thousand euros. And so by age 25, so I achieved it in 2006, I think, when I was 24. And then the crisis came, so I had 1 month, this 1 million, so then it kind of went away. So that was hard, and then I lost like 30% in a couple of months because then I was only invested in stocks, and I was using leverage also because I already thought the stocks were very cheap. So I took a loan against the stock from LHV Bank, and then it kept going lower, so that was very stressful. I remember thinking that I should sell everything and just be done with investing. But then luckily the market turned before I ran out of funds, so that was good.
For me, I think it was stupidity. When I was younger, then I didn't have any understanding of risk management. I even didn't recognize that there is a thing called risk. And I think my biggest loss when I was young was one option trade that I made. So I had this wonderful idea that silver will rise, I think 10% in next 1 month. So I bought a call option for SLV. This, maybe you know, this is a silver-based fund, and I took my friend also in, and we both put money in there. And I said that.
All the money?
Huh?
All the money?
Not all the money, but it's a pretty decent amount for this kind of time when we were young. And he will say, "Okay, let's go, Dennis." I said, "No problem. In next 1 month, we will make 200% of investment with this kind of trade. Trust me." And he said, "Okay, I trust you, no problem." And on the next day, we made with this trade, we made 50% return. Like with 1 day, 50% return. And I didn't understand it. What does it mean, 1 day, 50% return from this investment? And I told him that no, we came for 200 for 1 month. And he said, "Okay, 200 for 1 month." No, we didn't understand, like, if you get 50% for 1 day, for 2 days, 100, so on. And 1 month went past, and we lost everything.
Oh.
Like we lost everything. So with options, when you buy options, then you are on the wrong side of the trade. So you need to sell them. So, and we were on the wrong side of the trade, and it was very, very risky strategy. So stupidity, not understanding the risk, and that was my biggest hurdle.
What is yours?
In 2008 and 2009, I was quite an active trader of stocks, and I had a portfolio around 300,000 euros at that time, and I made a mistake. I didn't sell it when it was needed to sell at the beginning. And in 2009, I don't remember exactly, but maybe March, I had minus 80% from my portfolio. And but I had cash because I bought the commercial estate later. I had cash. I was very lucky, so I decided to invest into one company in our Baltic market. It's called Soft Technica. Maybe you know that.
I know, yeah.
And I invested quite a big amount at that time, but the stock price was 0.55 lats, so it's around 0.8 maybe euro. So, and I bet hard on that stock. And I invested, I don't remember exactly, but maybe 100,000 euro when it was actually in the bottom. And at that time I had about 2% of the Soft Technica equity, so I was quite a big investor. And I was lucky because the price went up to 7 euro, and I sold with a huge profit, and I came out from that stock trading in crisis time at zero returns. But actually it took me 8 years to recover the same portfolio. So 8 years, no returns. So it's still, I'm happy with that. Yeah, so it was my biggest hurdle.
So maybe I can comment. That's very funny because me and my friends, we bought 5% of stuff, so we were riding the same train. And I was wondering who else is buying it at the same time. So it's funny.
That's cool. I see investment as a sort of sport also. There is a point when you reach some kind of ceiling where it's very difficult to move on, either due to the lack of motivation, either due to the lack of funds. And I think that if you want to grow your portfolio to 100,000, this point will definitely come at some point. I know that some investors are struggling to get, for example, first 10,000 together. I mean, those costs are very, very low. Why do you think which point is difficult when you start with a very small amount of money, or when you start with a bigger amount of money? So how do you manage the risk, or how do you get your courage? Because losing 100,000, I think it's a little bit different feeling than losing 10,000 euros.
I think it's always better to start with smaller amount of money. So I built my portfolio gradually from high school, and that way you always learn your lessons, and as you grow better you can take bigger risks and manage it better. So I would be very scared, or like when you get the big inheritance or you win with the lottery, or I would take some time off and learn about it and start small still. I think biggest mistakes people do is that they kind of go all in then with their money. And I would always more suggest if you have capital under 100,000, more focus on building the capital. So what helped me was I was selling books door to door in America, so every summer I made like $20,000-$30,000. So most of that money I could invest. So to get this kind of returns from my small portfolio would have been like taking very big risks. So I often see this, that people have like maybe 10,000 euros portfolio and they want to double it, and then they do the silver trades and they lose it. So I think it's better to focus more how you can get more capital, maybe work abroad or do some small business. So that would give you bigger return.
I think that losing 10,000 and losing 100,000 is the same feeling, because you have, it's called like money thermostat. So when you have like smaller amount, then you feel that for you it's actually big, and when you have bigger amount, then it feels basically the same, because you just have like moved through the time, and I remember this loss was for me like very big experience, and I felt very bad of losing that. And today when I lose the same, maybe I even feel same proportion of my portfolio, I wouldn't feel maybe so bad. I don't have so big attachment to money today. But you asked like about the motivation, how to keep motivated. But for me the best motivation was freedom, the goal of freedom. Why I started investing is to achieve some kind of freedom in my life and in my community. And the turning point was in army. I was paramedic, and I had during the paramedic time I went to Rakvere EMO, so it's medicine, or where all the people who have traumas come. So there were one woman who came. She was 55 years old. She came on her feet. She sat down there and she told that I have small pain in my wrist. And then I was that who took care of her, put the canoe and everything set up, and were listening her that, and then doctors came from to us and said that she has a stroke, heart stroke. So one of her half of heart didn't work anymore. So it's a very hard condition. So they called Reamaville from Tallinn, and they started to do this whole expensive procedure to whatever. And I was like, oh, what's going on? She asked me like, I need to go to my friends. We had a meeting today. How long I will stay? I said, I don't know. And then we were waiting for 3 hours for Reamaville. It never came. Actually, from Rakvere, it's like 45 minutes actually to come down Bill and to take her to Tallinn to operation. And then I was like and finally, okay, she passed away. So did everything we could, and I understood that like she didn't have like nothing. She didn't have like capital, or she didn't have relatives who could help her. And I got in my mission, I would do everything what is my hand to build up a portfolio, build up my wealth, that I can help like all my relatives, everybody, every time like if something happens. And I think that was my biggest motivation. So like I hope this kind of thinking that if you are like not motivated to build up your wealth and to build up community, then think that you are not helping yourself, you're helping like others also. So that was my motivation.
I actually have another question for you. We are all waiting for crisis to come. How much cash do we have to have in our pockets to make successful deals during the crisis? What do you recommend?
In my case, I have no cash. I'm not going to save any cash, and because the crisis could come after 3-5 years or even later, I rather invest at the moment. I invest into consumer loans because I have a history. I know people from the banking industry. What happened in the time of 2009 in Lithuania, for example, the only profitable loan product of the biggest bank was consumer loans. So it keeps me motivated, and I would rather invest into consumer loans, even let's say I didn't earn any returns, it will be zero, for example, in time of crisis. But still, I'll earn some money before it comes, before the crisis will come. So I am investing into consumer.
So you're not planning to buy any property during the next crisis?
I hope that I'll get the loan from the bank if needed, and if I find a good real estate, I'll grab some money from my pockets, and I'll buy real estate as well.
So do you keep cash in case the crisis
Yes,
will
I
come?
have some cash in case, but it's not more like reason why I need to have the cash. When the crisis comes, then I can buy. I calculate like risk-adjusted returns in different kind of asset classes, and then when I see that, for example, stocks is the good risk-adjusted, I might get good risk-adjusted return there. Then it's a good time to go. Right now, I see that consumer loans have a good risk-adjusted returns in some portfolios. So okay, there's a debate that they haven't passed the crisis and so on. But even with the crisis, I see that companies are good. They have like good management, and those where I invest. And I see that in this case, I have also the buyback guarantees. So for me, it's a pretty decent risk-adjusted return. So I pick this portfolio. When there's something happens, then I stop. So for example, I went out from real estate crowdfunding. I'm not investing anymore there because I don't see the reasonable risk-adjusted return there, and I see risk more than the return that I could take there. So.
But will you consider real estate investment if the crisis will come?
Yeah, of course, yes.
Okay.
Today also the real estate for me is not good risk-adjusted return.
I just want to add, as you say, that it's no history of consumer loans in the crisis period, but don't forget about the company with the exotic name Zopa in the UK, which started in 2005, and they came from the crisis period, and I looked at the information, what kind of returns it was during the crisis of that platform in UK, and still it was 2 times less. It was not 7 but 3.5. So of course, but it's not the Baltic states. Maybe.
Yeah, but of course the consumer loans overall they have shown pretty good stability during the crisis, that people have tendency to pay out the loans if they're not very high risk loans. You need to have your portfolio in good A-class loans, then there's no like so big risks.
Yeah, are you sitting on that pile of cash waiting for the next crisis?
I am very bad with cash, so my wife keeps the cash. So we have now, I've always loaned money from her, like all her cash I take a loan.
Take notes, guys.
And now she said that no more, I will not loan you anything. So we have a pile of cash in her account. But for me, I always find more investment opportunities than I have cash. So I usually are in using loans. So I have like 30% of assets financed by loans, and that is kind of mainly with real estate. Like if you can finance it with loans, it makes sense to do it. But what I'm trying to do is get rid of personal loans. So maybe interest-wise it wouldn't make sense to pay them back, but just to kind of feel better, I want to get rid of those. But it seems crisis coming because nobody has cash, so